What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Name That Animal, the show where we show you a video game character and you have to tell us what kind of animal it is. So without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the first animal on our list. That's a monkey. That's a dinosaur? I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know what the this is. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sega's flagship franchise that gave us the smug blue blur that we've grown to know so well today. Over the years, Sonic has appeared in a countless number of titles, including adventure games, racing games, and even educational titles. But Sonic has even become a mainstream in pop culture, with many successful TV shows, the recent live-action movie, and even having a restaurant named after him. I'm being told this is the wrong information.
You wrote it.
With all of the fame and popularity, it's almost impossible to name a character as iconic as Sonic the Hedgehog. Mario, Luigi, Pikachu, Pac-Man. Iconic for being bad. Yes, as iconic and popular as the Blue Hedgehog is, Sonic has been at the center of controversy for nearly the entirety of his life, gaining quite the reputation among the video game industry.
Sonic was never good.
This was never really a great franchise.
Nope. It's not even remotely approaching the level of Mario.
But is that really the case? I'm not gonna vouch for the entirety of this series because, I mean, this exists. But surely this isn't the bane of existence for all of video games. So what better way of finding out what game Sonic has given us in its 30-year lifespan than to go back and play every single mainline game in the series? I'm literally digging my own grave here. Now, I've been a fan of the Sonic series since 2002, as Sonic Mega Collection was one of the first games that I got for the GameCube, and since then I've beaten almost every single game in the mainline series. But we have to go back to 1990 to see where it all began, and it was around this time that Sega was starting to make its jump into the video game market. Sega was famous for its tagline, "Genesis does what Nintendo," trying to edge out against Nintendo, who had a monopoly on the video game market since the release of the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985. This was a major problem for Sega, as Nintendo had claimed the right to nearly all the big arcade games at the time, so Sega needed to create an instantly recognizable library of games to compete with the Nintendo powerhouse. Sega toyed with using the likeliness of celebrities and athletes, Joe Montana's football, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, and these games sold primarily well, but they just couldn't compete with the sheer amount of characters that Nintendo had at their disposal. Sega needed a mascot, a video game icon that could rival the likes of Mario. So to combat this, Sega held a company-wide contest to design a mascot that could truly rival Nintendo's flagship character. Tons of ideas came from this, but eventually with blue quills on its head and bright red Michael Jackson shoes on its feet, Sonic the Hedgehog was born. I guess he looks enough like a hedgehog. Sonic is the perfect culmination of everything Sega was at the time, the blue design being the signature color of Sega's logo, and the snarky personality encompassing Sega's marketing towards Nintendo. With the mascot character's design finally complete, all that was left to do was design the game, and they needed something successful enough to make Sonic a bundled exclusive for the Genesis. Consoles just weren't selling as much as they needed to at the time, so giving a pack-in mascot for the Genesis would hopefully help solidify its success. Bring in Yuji Naka, the lead programmer for Sonic the Hedgehog, who would later go on to head Sonic Team, posed with the difficult task of creating a game that could rival Mario. In Naka's earlier years, he would often play the original Super Mario Bros., setting out not to achieve the highest score possible, but beat the game as quickly as possible, essentially the early version of speedrunning. Naka wanted to design a game that involved a fast-moving character rolling into a ball, and by combining these two elements, Sonic the Hedgehog is here. And it's hard to think of how many people hate this little fucker. Sonic the Hedgehog released on June 23rd, 1991 in North America and July 26th in Japan. That's right, Sega actually released this in America first. This was due to Western audiences being the primary demographic for Sega, since Nintendo had Japan wrapped around their finger and Sonic encompassed the loud personality exhibited by Western culture. Sonic being a 2D platformer involved moving towards the goal as quickly as possible. The faster you go, the more points you would achieve at the end of the stage. And Sonic plays much like we know him to play today, however much more simplistic in his first outing. Sonic can form into a ball by either jumping or pressing down on the control pad while running. And that's the extent of his moveset. No homing attack, no light dash. These wouldn't appear until later titles alongside the signature spin dash, which does appear in some later versions of Sonic 1, including the mobile version, which if you haven't tried it, it's excellent, and dare I say, the definitive way to play the game. The controls feel fairly consistent, for a retro Genesis game that is. Sonic truly feels fluid to move, with the only control pad and one button to use. I feel they truly did a good job to keep a quick game style meshed with simplistic movement. There wasn't many times that Sonic felt like he was going to fly off the screen, but in those times that he did, it didn't feel unwarranted or like I was in danger. And even if I was, I'd have solace knowing I'd have rings to keep me alive. Rings are the classic Sonic item titular to the series. Collecting rings would grant you safety, as getting damaged would lose all of your rings, unless you are quick enough to recover the small amount that flies out. I think we take this for granted nowadays, but this idea was genius. Other games at the time relied on hearts or meters, so this was a refreshing change of pace that helped players feel in control of the entire experience. By collecting 100 rings, you were granted an extra life, and keeping 50 total at the end of the stage would grant you access to the bonus level, which we will elaborate more after I talk about the stages. With the advancement of hardware, Sonic wanted to go for a brighter, modern feel with its stages, truly capturing on the 90s charm. Sonic has 6 different levels, each divided into 3 stages, with the third stage always ending in a boss fight against Dr. Robotnik, the mad scientist who's capturing animals and turning them into robots. We start the game off with Green Hill Zone, and I don't have to explain this. This is highly regarded as one of the greatest levels in not just Sonic, but video game history. It's got everything. It's green. There's a hill. Green Hill Zone is simply iconic. It's simple enough to be picked up and understood, yet memorable enough to be considered timeless. I mean, who can't remember this loop smack dab in the middle of the course, followed by this long winding tube skyrocketing you into the air? This is what speed felt like, and I don't have to elaborate more on this, except I will say, it's miles better than the bonus stage. Yes, the bonus stage. Remember when I said you had to collect 50 rings to get to the bonus level? The bonus level gives you the ever so wonderful reward of motion sickness. These bonus levels just are not up to par. It's disorienting to be thrown around into a constantly rotating stage with little to no control of your surroundings. For beating this stage, you're rewarded with the 6, not 7, Chaos Emeralds, which I've taken the liberty to write out an entire list of what they offer in this game. In my eyes, the only redeeming part of these bonus levels is if you collect at least 50 coins in these sections, you will be rewarded with a continue. If you game over, instead of offering you 1 extra life, they will offer you 3, and let me tell you, this is a lifesaver. After Green Hill Zone, we are on to Marble Zone, and just like the green hill it came from, it was all downhill from here. It's at this point in time that I will introduce the Sonic bullshit counter. It's pretty self-explanatory. Anytime that I don't know how to explain something, we can chalk it up to Sonic bullshit. See, Marble Zone took everything that Green Hill Zone was built upon and put in the aforementioned Sonic bullshit. Green Hill Zone was a staple because it felt so fluid that you were able to constantly keep up and maintain that speed. When you did slow down, it was only for a brief moment, which made those segments where you speed up that much better. To further this, you had multiple pathways, typically a high and low road, to help you progress towards the end. Marble Zone doesn't do any of that and took the entire fast-paced appeal that Sonic was marketing and tossed it out the window. There's only one path to move forward, and these lava sections tremendously slow your pace. Sonic is built for speed, but half of the zone is spent waiting. The platforming is okay, I guess, but most of the fun is stripped away and involves my patience waiting on the spiked chandeliers to drop down or the lava to rise out of the ground. But these spikes, Sega, why? Why would you put these in here? These spikes single-handedly destroy any sense of speed or pacing that we wanted to set with the game and absolutely ruins this experience. Spring Yard Zone's pretty fun. Spring Yard Zone is a step back in the right direction. It has a fairly decent balance of speed and platforming. Overall, not a bad level. However, if I had to make one complaint, it would be these bumpers. They get fairly annoying way too quick. The rest of the levels are mediocre at best. Labyrinth Zone brings us to our first water level, and dare I say it, the water physics aren't that bad. However, the linear progression, the aggravating spikes, everything else here is just a jumbled, frustrating mess. Also, why can I still die underwater while I'm invincible? That doesn't make me invincible. Starlight Zone has my favorite music track in the game. However, I just beat this game yesterday and I don't remember a damn thing about this level. Except the boss battle, which I have to say is pretty neat. Robotnik drops these bombs and you have to use physics to fling your way towards Robotnik. This is definitely the best boss battle in the game. Sonic bullshit. Here's my thoughts on Scrap Brain Zone. Scrap Brain Zone takes all the Sonic bullshit and crams it into one level. These underwater sections feel clunky, having to navigate through platform nightmares where you can't accurately time your jumps due to the sheer abundance of obstacles. Also, what's with the background of these later levels? They updated the hardware but decided to go with a darker, more bland background. I can understand the darker tone they're going for, but it makes the game feel sluggish after the Green Hill Zone aesthetic. Finally, we arrive to the final boss, and with no rings, I can finally sense my anger swelling. Thank goodness this boss is a cakewalk, because without any rings, this would have been obnoxious. Robotnik hides in these moving capsules that drop down, and it's essentially a guessing game to find out which one. After dodging electric balls and watching Robotnik's machine crash and burn, we finally see the credits roll. Sonic is seen rolling back through all of the zones, the freed animals bouncing around him, and there we go. We've beaten Sonic 1 on the Genesis. And that was an experience. Sonic 1 is a clunky mess. It advertises itself as a fast-paced platformer, but feels more like a waiting room with short bursts of speed. but for some reason, I still really like this game. I think the joy from Sonic 1 is primarily due to nostalgia, but there's an effervescent charm from Sonic himself. Despite the sometimes atrocious level design, Sonic on his own feels great to control, and I think that's what keeps people coming back to this game. And the heart of Sonic is absolutely there. I love his idle animations, the way he begrudgingly glances at you waiting for an input. If he goes near a ledge, he'll fumble around to try to catch his balance, and even while getting damaged, he throws his hands up in the air out of shock. His animations feel vital to the Sonic experience. And I haven't even talked about the music, but it speaks for itself. The soundtrack sounds just like it was ripped from a late 80s, early 90s MTV and mixed with a video game aesthetic. There's only about 10 songs in total, but every one feels tailor-made for the Sonic experience, and this even bridges into its sound effects, blending perfectly with Nakamura's excellently crafted music composition. Sonic 1 at its core is not the best game, but I feel like it gets a lot more hate than it deserves. It's not a great game, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's a bad game. That's why I've decided to give it a score of underwhelmingly mediocre. With that being said, let's take a look at all the Sonic games I have left on my list. Let's talk about Sonic 2.
This is why you don't have a job.